Good evening. Nothing new to, well, haven't bought anything since the last video, which is healthy. But I don't know, I was thinking I could catch up on, well, I could make videos on older stuff. Well, older to me, it's all old. So I don't know, I've been interested in Game Boy stuff recently. I've been enjoying looking for it and buying it and all that and talking about it. So I thought I'd go through my Game Boy stuff. I've just brought actually the drawer. I keep it all in. Just brought the whole drawer out because I'll just rifle through it and sort of talk about a little bit of it. So I've obviously got the original Game Boy, which I talked about in a video or two ago. It used to belong to my grandpa. I suppose it's mine now. Old, yeah. Bart Simpson. Got here my Game Boy Color, which is just the same as the Game Boy Color I owned as a child. I actually got the Game Boy pretty late. One Christmas, I mean, I don't know when this was in relation to when the Game Boy Color came out. The Game Boy Color wasn't new at the time I got it, and neither were the games that I got with the Game Boy Color Pokemon. I was really interested in Pokemon, but I had never actually played the games. So I watched the cartoons. I had the stickers. I remember, and I think I collected Pokemon cards as well. There used to be a trading card shop near where I lived in Edinburgh. It was on Westport. There was a guy who worked there. His name was Clark. And it sold like baseball cards. I think it sold Magic cards, and it started selling Pokemon cards when they came out. And I went in there one day, and he actually gave me, I think, a free packet of the stickers. And I mean, I thought they were great. I had no idea really what Pokemon was. And as I remember the adverts that I saw on TV they weren't that clear. They seemed to presume an understanding of what Pokemon was, because I say that because at the time when I saw them, I thought you were capturing Pokemon because they were, they were the baddies. And I kind of assumed that the point was to kill the Pokemon, uh, or kind of capture them for, sort of, I don't know, almost not a nefarious reason. I don't know. There was this advert that they showed of this bus driver tricking Pokemon onto a bus and driving off with all of them, which almost sounds made up, because I remember there was a joke that went around when Pokemon was new. How'd you get a Pikachu on the bus? You Pokemon. Anyway, all this is to say that I was into Pokemon, but hadn't played it. And when I got my Game Boy, I got it with Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, and I played them concurrently. I chose Charmander on Pokemon Red, Squirtle on Pokemon Blue, and I was late to the game. I think by the time I got it, I kind of had more of an idea of what it was because I've been watching cartoons and stuff. But it was really exciting, and it was a Game Boy just like this, kind of clear purple, do they call it? I mean, it looks purple to me. Uh, so this is when I bought this again a couple of years ago when I started to have my fledgling interest in playing games again on original hardware rather than emulators or re-releases or anything like that. And I sought out this model in particular. I really like playing it. That's my sort of quick catch up on my relationship with the Game Boy Color, I suppose. I've got in here a bunch of Game Boy games I've probably talked about before. DuckTales Quirk, which is kind of it's a puzzle game. I'll talk about that another time maybe. Metroid 2, which I've talked about. Tetris, of which I have 3 copies now. Dr. Mario, which is a bit scuffed up, something I didn't really care about at the time. And you wouldn't stop me buying certain things, but and this was like £2, so kind of part of the fun of that was getting a bargain. Getting anything for £2 is kind of nice. But I think now I've now become, it's almost vanity, really, isn't it? A bit more fussy. I got in this unpleasant third-party advance case, or at least it seems that way. Again, I don't like unofficial stuff, really. What's the point from a collecting point of view? Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I really liked this game. I played an enormous amount of it. I remember one file I had, which I was playing really deep into the kind of post-game. I mean, there's eventually a point you get with a game like this that you're playing it for no reason at all, because there's no kind of ultimate dungeon in it that really rewards being at a ridiculously high level or having every ability. So I was just playing it. I was just playing it and playing it and playing it. I think it was about 100. It was over 100 hours in. I would never play it to that extent again, but I would definitely like play the. I would definitely play it again in a more kind of sensible way. I really don't like how this case closes. Oh, there we go. That's kind of unintuitive. Yeah, I would definitely play it again. I never played the DS version, the DS sequel. Something about the DS graphics always put me off. They were a bit too sharp and the colours were a little bit... Something a bit weird about the colours. Always kind of seemed a bit primary coloury to me. The graphics were a bit less... like I thought WarioWare Touched, was it on the DS? Looked worse than the Game Boy Advance one. It was too clean. And I kind of feel that about DS, a lot of 2D DS games. Anyway, now if this is a first party Game Boy Advance case, it's kind of even worse than the other one, so eating my words there. Pokemon Ruby Edition, it's the American one I talked about before. It was an American Pokemon Ruby I owned back in the day. I got it a bit early, I suppose, and yeah, Groudon, the Pokemon that is exclusive to Ruby compared to Sapphire. One of the most, I don't know, one of the most striking images on Pokemon box art is Groudon, I think. Really ugly looking, but in a quite exciting way. For that reason, yeah, I feel more strongly in this generation about my preference for Ruby over Sapphire. For that reason, I think there's just something really... I really like Groudon's design, and there's something quite genuinely like terrifying looking about his design. He looks quite bizarre and hellish in a way that Kyogre doesn't. Kyogre just looks like a big sort of weird fish. Groudon doesn't really look like anything. Looks quite, hellish is the word, I think. So yeah, that's my story. Got here Pokemon Silver, a really shitty quality. This was when I just kind of started going into cash converters and places like that looking for these things, and I saw this. I was like, oh, a tenner for Pokemon Silver, that's a great deal. It's not really anything exciting, and one of the reasons I've not gotten around to playing this again since is because it just looks like such shit. I'm probably going to get rid of it because it's just so unappealing. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't... It puts me off even talking about it. My preference, not as strong, but has a lot of. It's a preference with more antiquity, greater antiquity than the Ruby Sapphire preference. Pokemon Gold. I am trying to think. I believe this is the cartridge. My original copy of Pokemon Gold. Again, from is it ESRB they call it? Yeah, it's an American cartridge again. I got this early as well, so having been late to the game with Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon in general, I was a bit ahead of the game with this one, Pokemon Gold. I believe this is the one I had it because I had to replace the battery on it a few years ago, and I didn't do an amazing job of it. You probably can't see here, but there are some bits of tape inside which I had to sort of shave off at the edges. They're holding down the battery on the inside. I love Pokemon Gold. Again, Ho just has more of a. Oh, I don't know. It's purely preference, isn't it? But I found. I think I really liked. I suppose what I do like about Pokemon Gold over Pokemon Silver is in the story of Pokemon Gold, you fairly mid-game encounter Ho in the same places you would in Silver, but where you encounter Ho mid-game is Burnt Tower. No. Is it called Burnt Tower? Burnt Tower is the one where you see the legendary dogs. It is the tower in Ecruteak City, the tower that's still standing. And Ecruteak City is Ecruteak Town, perhaps. It's got great music. It's got a really interesting, got a really great atmosphere. It's right in the middle of the map. You go one way to go to like Cyanport and the other towns, the kind of seaside bit. Then you go the other way when you advance a bit further to get towards the kind of endgame stuff. Forgotten all the names. I just think it's a more exciting place to visit at that part of the game. It feels more tied into what's happening in the game in general. I've never really played through a game of Silver, but the idea of the alternative to my experience with Generation 2 Pokemon being middle of the game, going off to the Whirlpool Islands, just, I don't know, it seems like a little bit of a diversion from the game, the game world, all the stuff you're kind of actually involved in when you're playing the game. I'm rambling a bit. I'm finding it a bit hard to substantiate why I prefer Gold, which is probably fine. It's basically a personal preference. I could talk about Pokemon Gold more. Not a good idea just now. In fact, I'm seeing how long this video has gone on for already, and being that it is impromptu and not about anything in particular, I will shortly round it off. Last thing I will say, continuing in the Pokemon vein, things I'll find. Pokemon Sapphire Edition. Now, I know this to be a replica, a fake. I won't be buying more of these knowingly. Wonder if it's. I don't know how this camera focuses. It's a real piece of shit. I'm trying to compare it to this other thing I have here, and yeah, you can. I think I can tell the difference in how the print looks. I mean, that you probably can't see it, but the Pokemon company there looks really kind of pixelated. Not pixelated, but blurry, like it's been upscaled or something. So again, I'm probably going to get rid of this at some point because I don't like it compromises the integrity of my collection, and that's really really important to me. The last thing I'll talk about is this Pokemon Ruben edition. When I studied, well, learned German in high school, and I sort of studied at university as well. Before I went to university, I think I liked the idea of picking up my German again by, more or less effortlessly, as I saw it, by playing games in German, games that didn't demand too much of my German ability. Um, and I played a few, actually, it was mainly Pokemon games I played on emulators. Um, I avoided Generation 1 because I just had a feeling that the translation wouldn't be very reliable for that. Not that I can think of any examples of that in the English translation. Bad translation that would be compounded in um, less major languages. Not that you can call German anything but a major language, but I just have this worry that English translations, if they're not great, then others aren't going to be better, um, because of because. Anyway, so Pokemon Ruben edition, and I've got to say, it just I it's kind of it's not that I need to know what's going on. It's not that I had any real trouble knowing what was going on because I'm familiar with the game, but um, it disrupted my enjoyment of playing it as a game, and it also was not an amazing way to practice German. So it kind of was just a big compromise, I think, playing the game that way and trying to practice German that way. A big theme that probably comes up when I'm talking about these things is playing a game in a way that I first played it, returning to that very specific experience of something, not just the game itself, but the way I played it. And sometimes sometimes I like to go as far as, being in a place like I used to play it, and sometimes that can mean, turning all the lights off, playing something purely backlit, which is kind of, bad for your eyes, but that's not something I worried about when I was younger. So it's kind of interesting to return to that experience occasionally. And I did not play this game in German originally, so it disrupts that feature of replaying these games. So, yeah, a compromise on both counts. Tell a lie. This is the last thing I'll talk about because it is actually the last Pokemon game I have in my collection, Pokemon Yellow. Worth mentioning only because I rather conspicuously don't have Pokemon Red or Blue. I have had them in my collection, which was not the way I talked about it back in the day. I've had it in my collection. I've had them in my collection countless times, and I don't remember getting rid of them the last time. I feel like with games like that, the time will have come quite a while ago when I decided these are not games I'm not going to want to replay ever again. Did I say that correctly? I decided that these are games that I would keep in my collection forever, as long as I was still playing games or having them around. So I don't remember getting rid of them, but I don't have them. They were misplaced somehow, and I've resisted buying them since I have started properly collecting, I suppose. Partly from a feeling that these will turn up again. I'm in no rush to get them, and them turning up in less than ideal condition. Although that's not been true in a lot of cases. I've seen some pretty perfect looking Pokemon Blues, and I don't know, no excuses really. They also kind of leapt up in price. Well, not leapt exactly, they lurched up in price after I first started seeing them around a few months ago. Um, I think they're the sort of thing that's going to that will fluctuate. So they're about £18 a pop at the moment, which seems a little bit more than I would like to pay for them, I think. So might be another one of those ones I stake out, but really there's no excuses for not having them in my collection. So I should get them for good. That'll do for now. Or rather long video. I'll get around to the other Game Boy games. Maybe.